Hey folks, this is Alex Sanvicente with Hispanic Conservative MAGA Radio. Wanted to just quell your fears a little bit about a new little internet rumor circulating by the libtard media and the liberals out there, the trolls, telling us that we're basically still going to lose this election. How many times have you heard that Donald Trump's going to lose something in this and it's related to this election? First, he was going to lose the primary. Then he was a joke candidate who was nothing more than a novelty. Then when he was up in the polls, he was actually down in the polls. When we tried to say that he was up, people laughed at us. Remember that? Then he won the election. Then people said that he didn't really win the election because he didn't win the popular vote. Well, I got news for you folks. There's proof out there that illegals and dead people were voting in this election. And even if he did lose the popular vote, which he didn't, she only won by a slim margin. Slim, which means that it was basically a landslide in the electoral college for Donald Trump. Did anybody think he was going to pierce the blue wall? No, nobody thought that. Everybody thought that he was going to lose this election and he was going to lose big. He won Pennsylvania, a state that nobody ever thought that he could win. So let's quickly talk about the Electoral College and let you know that there is no way that the Electoral College will change their votes to Clinton. And let me tell you why. We have something in this country called the Constitution, which I know the libtards like to sometimes cite the Constitution when it's in their best interest, but when it's not in their best interest, they like to just forget about it. You're out there protesting right now like a bunch of idiots instead of getting out there and trying to do something about why you lost, trying to dispute an election where people voted and you lost and we won, trying to protest what? Democracy? Walking around with Mexican flags and communist flags. Where are the American flags? That's one thing that libtards seem to forget, that when you assimilate into this country, whether you're Hispanic, whether you're from Uganda, whether you're from Russia, you assimilate into this country and you become an American. When you take the oath to become an American citizen, you denounce all other countries and you pledge allegiance to the United States of America. So election day was on November 8th. In mid-November through December 19th, after the presidential election, the governor of your state prepares 7 certificates of ascertainment as soon as practical. After the election results in that state are certified, the governor sends one of the certificates of ascertainment to the archivist. Certificates of that ascertainment are sent to the archivist no later than the meeting of the electors in December. Now here's where the libtards think that they have a little bit of a silver lining. Federal law does not set any penalties for missing deadlines. So they think that by delaying their vote, they can somehow sneak Clinton in there. It's not going to happen, folks. We had an election. Donald Trump won by a landslide, and we're going to be looking at a Donald Trump presidency. That's the end of it. I know you want to cry about it and have your safe spaces and play with your Play-Doh and color in your books and pretend like you never ever lost in your life, but you can go and cry with all your other liberal libtards out there and cry your liberal tears. I, for one, am enjoying it because, if we would have lost, which I never believed we would have, we would have gone back to our everyday lives. We would have regrouped, continued the movement. You know, when the Tea Party lost, the Tea Party was overtaken by the Republican establishment, and we all kind of went away and we regrouped. And then finally, when we had enough energy behind us, we found Donald Trump. And we all got behind him because we liked what he said. So going back to the Electoral College, by December 13th, states must make a final decision in any controversies over the appointment of their electors, at least 6 days before the meeting of the electors. This is so their electors' votes will be presumed valid when presented to Congress. Decisions are state by states. Courts are conclusive if decided under law enacted before the election day. So that's the thing. Elections happen at the state level. So if an elector changes his vote and it changes the outcome of the will of the people, that will go to court. That will go to state court before it even gets to Congress. It's just not going to happen. The electors meet in the state and vote for the president and the vice president on separate ballots. The electors record their votes on 6 certificates of votes, which are paired with the 6 remaining certificates of ascertainment. The electors sign, seal, and certify 6 sets of electoral votes. A set of electoral votes consists of 1 certificate of ascertainment and 1 certificate of the vote, all for Donald Trump. They are distributed as followed. 1 set goes to the president of the Senate, which will be Joe Biden. And that's again where the libtards are thinking, well, Joe Biden will just change his mind and be like, you know what? We're going to vote Clinton in, or we're going to take it to the House. It's not going to happen, folks. Not going to happen. There would be a constitutional crisis that this nation would never come back from. Even during the Civil War, when war broke out between the Union and the South created their own set of government. They did not try to overthrow the current government because they know that the current government has a set of laws and principles. By December 28th, the electoral votes, the certificates of votes, must be received by the President of the Senate and the archivist no later than 9 days after the meeting of the electors. States face no legal penalties for failure to comply. States themselves do not face penalty, but they will face penalty from the people if they vote against the will of the people. Because although you want to cry and say that you won the popular vote by a half a percentage point or 0.2 or a tenth of a point, just so that you can take the moral high ground, states and counties overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump, and elections are won on a state and county level. So if anybody tries to overturn the will of the people at the county level, I don't care how many people your city has. If your city has 6 million people and all 6 million of them voted for Donald Trump, but it still did not sway the other counties and the electoral votes still went for Donald Trump, something is wrong with that city. That city needs to look into themselves and find out why is it that the rest of the counties and the entire state voted against us and come together. Not try to cry and say that you won the election. You lost. On or before January 13th, the archivist and or the representatives from the Office of the Federal Registrar meet with the Secretary of the Senate and the Clerk of the House in late December or early January. This is a Republican-controlled House, folks. It's not going to happen. Republicans are not going to vote against their future president. Let's see what the current House of Representatives makeup right now is. just not going to happen, folks. It's something that I think the liberals are holding on to a wet dream, and it's just not going to happen. It's an idea that's floated out there because they just can't get over losing. What a bunch of losers. Can't you guys just go home and decide that you lost and take it like a man or a woman? Take it on the chin? I love that slogan. Suck it up, buttercup. Yeah, suck it up. Suck it up because you lost. Suck it up because you don't know how to lose. And I think that a lot of red-blooded Americans out there, whether you're Hispanic or not, are saying to yourself, I've always been thinking these things, that these little wussies that give trophies to everyone are one day going to wake up and realize that the world is not a very nice place. The world is not a very nice place. And it's not. You make of this country, in your career, in your life, what you want to make of it. But people around you don't have to try to make the country or work what they think that you should be doing. You can't expect and sit around and hope that others will pick you up from your misery. You have to do that on your own. You have to do that on your own. So pick yourself up and realize that you lost this election and it was close regarding the popular vote, but you lost in the rural counties. Why did you lose in the rural counties? Why is it that in the rural counties people looked at the big cities and gave them the big finger? Why is that? Why is it that if you look at the map, it's a sea of red? And the only places that there are huge pockets of Democrats are on the coasts of the West and in New York. And now, unfortunately, Nevada, which I'm from Nevada, and it's unfortunate that we've become completely engulfed by the Democratic Party, probably because we've had so many California transplants, libtards coming over here and basically infiltrating our system out here. I'm hoping that'll change. So right now, the House is controlled by the Republicans. Paul Ryan, whether you like him or not, and maybe this is why Trump did it, has been elected to be Speaker of the House again. He's been elected again. So do you think that an outgoing loser party and Joe Biden are going to go against the will of the people? It's not going to happen. We have elections in this country, and we follow the rules of the Constitution. The will of the people have spoken, and no matter how much the liberal media tries to continue to cling on to wet dreams of a Clinton presidency, it's not going to happen. Washington, D.C., it's going to forever change. If you own a house in Washington, D.C. right now, you better just sell that house because the swamp is about to get drained, folks. It's going to get drained. Government is going to get smaller. Entire departments are going to be gutted because America just cannot afford it anymore. And the one thing that Donald Trump is good at is bankruptcy. And when a country is bankrupt like ours is, and I know that's a hard pill to swallow for the libtards because they think the money continues forever. It's a hard pill to swallow. The country is bankrupt. We're going to be $20 trillion in debt. That's a debt that we will give to our children for the next 100 years. So the money is gone. The money is gone, and we need to start making difficult choices. I would love for the government to be able to come and give me a free housekeeper and free this and free that. But there's no money left. And that's why Donald Trump was elected president. Because people in the areas where you actually have to work hard, do you realize that in rural areas there's not much government help in those rural areas? And do you realize that the closer to the city you get, the more government handouts you get? And isn't it interesting that the closer you get to the cities, the more democratic people get because they like their handouts? But in rural America, you have to work for a living. There are no handouts out on the farm. There are no handouts out in a county with a population of 20,000. There's no resources for that. Nobody's looking out for these people. And they all overwhelmingly said, if I don't have to rely on the government, why should you? Why should you get a handout when I have to get up every single day and work for a living? So stop crying. Put on your big boy pants or your big girl pants. It's a new day, folks. It's a new day. Get ready for those EBT cards to start getting cut off, for government departments to start getting gutted, for welfare checks to stop, and for illegal immigrants to stop taking jobs. Get ready to start pulling into a neighborhood with an HOA and seeing hardworking Americans doing those jobs instead of illegal aliens that have crossed over illegally to rip us off and send the money back to Mexico, not to help us. Americans are tired of it. And Hispanics that came here legally are tired of it. So that's all for me, folks. This is Alex San Vicente with Conservative Hispanic MAGA Radio. And I'll just keep posting videos out here, hoping that I start building a following. Subscribe to the channel, share this to everybody that shares our view or that doesn't. And it's a great day, folks. Let's not worry too much about all this news that we hear. Let's turn it off and stick to what we did before and listen to the alternative media. I'm Alex San Vicente, and I'm out.